The most primal human instinct is to seek security and belonging to the masses. However, throughout thousands of years of history, some communities have chosen to go against that trend. Perched precariously on sheer cliffs hundreds of meters high, solitary in the vast ocean, or hidden deep within the icy deserts at the ends of the earth. This is not just a story about magnificent architectural structures that defy gravity. This is a testament to humanity's resilience, courage, and fierce will to survive in the face of nature's arrogance. Meteora in Greek means suspended in the air. This name accurately describes the ancient monasteries perched atop massive sandstone pillars perpendicular to the ground. In the 14th century, monks fled the Ottoman army by seeking refuge on these rugged mountain peaks. They personally carried each brick up the mountain with their bare hands to build the structure. For centuries, the only way to access this place was to sit in a rudimentary net and be pulled up by people at the top using a pulley system. The monks had a rather ominous rule. They only replaced the ropes when the old ones had broken. If the rope breaks midway, they consider it God's will. Life on the rocky summit is completely isolated from the world below. The country's water supply depends on collecting rainwater from stone troughs. The only sounds here are the wind whistling through the rocks and the calls of flocks of eagles circling in search of prey. Standing on the edge of a deep ravine and looking down into the misty valley remains a heart-stopping challenge for anyone. Nestled deep within the Tagang Mountains lies an ancient village called Guolang, perched atop a sheer cliff 120 meters high. For centuries, this village was completely isolated from the outside world. The only way for people to get around is a slippery and extremely dangerous stone staircase known as the Death Corridor. The turning point came in 1972 when 13 strong men from the village decided to carve a road through the heart of the Rocky Mountain themselves. Without modern machinery, they only used hammers and chisels by hand. After 5 long years, a tunnel over 1,000 meters long was created, with 30 windows carved directly into the cliff face to let in light. Today, this road has become a world wonder. However, The lives of the people still retain a very primitive character, surrounded by ancient stone houses. Occasionally you'll spot mountain goats skillfully climbing along narrow rocky edges. Driving through this tunnel and looking through the stone windows down into the abyss below is sure to leave viewers breathless. The ancient town of Bonifacio appears as a fragile boundary between land and ocean. This structure sits right on the edge of a sheer white limestone cliff more than 70 meters high. Even more frightening is that the base of the cliff has been eroded and hollowed out by the Mediterranean sea waves over thousands of years. This gives the multi-story stone houses the appearance of jutting out into the void. This place was built in the 9th century to serve as a fortress against pirates. Every morning, all the residents need to do is open the back window of their house, and they can look straight down at the deep blue sea with its powerful waves crashing right at their feet. Many scientists have warned that these limestone formations could collapse at any time due to continuous natural erosion. The King's Stairs of Aragon consist of 187 steps carved directly into the cliff face at a 45-degree angle towards the sea. Life in Bonifacio is always filled with the sound of howling wind and the cries of seagulls sheltering in their rocky crevices, creating a resilient living environment. Parrot Monastery clings to a massive cliff at an altitude of over 3,000 meters above sea level. The entire complex is perched precariously amidst layers of ethereal clouds, creating an incredibly mysterious scene. This place is also known as Tiger Cave. The terrain is so rugged that there are no roads for vehicles. The only way to access it is by walking or riding a horse along a narrow trail that runs along the edge of a deep ravine for 4 hours. In 1998, a great fire destroyed most of the monastery's wooden buildings. Because of its extremely precarious location, firefighting was nearly impossible. After that disaster, the monks and villagers performed a miracle by working together, using their strength to transport each wooden beam and each bucket of water up the cliff to rebuild the monastery intact. Surrounding the monastery are waterfalls cascading down into the deep valley. Mules and horses are the only means of transporting necessities for the hermit monks, transforming this place into a great spiritual symbol that defies all the limits of nature. viewed from above. Copany resembles a giant labyrinth floating in the middle of the ocean. This village is entirely supported by a system of wooden stilts and buoys nestled against a large limestone mountain in Phugtal Bay. In the 18th century, 3 families of fishermen who migrated from Indonesia came to this place. Because the laws at the time did not allow foreigners to own land, they had no choice but to build their houses right on the water. Because there wasn't a single square meter of flat land, the children gathered leftover pieces of wood and old styrofoam boxes to build a makeshift football field floating precariously on the waves. From that rudimentary football field, the fishing village team trained and won the regional youth championship. Copany has schools, mosques, and souvenir shops. Today, the only means of transportation for the villagers and their dogs is small, outboard boats. Their lives are a cycle intertwined with the salty sea and resilience in the face of stormy seasons. Gasadaler is a small village with only a few dozen inhabitants, nestled amidst the lush green meadows of the Faroe Islands. The beauty of this place can leave anyone stunned, as right next to the village is a stunning waterfall cascading straight down from a steep cliff into the ocean. However, that idyllic setting was once a natural prison, completely isolating its inhabitants from the outside world. Before 2004, if people wanted to go outside, they had no other option but to climb a dangerous mountain over 400 meters high on their own. Even the village postman back then had to hike up the mountain 3 times a week to deliver letters and essential supplies to the villagers. Most impressive is the survival effort of a small community that resolutely refused to leave their homeland for centuries. Things only changed when explosives were detonated to create a small tunnel through the mountain for cars to pass through. Their lives are less difficult now, but the tranquility and unspoiled nature, with flocks of sheep peacefully grazing at the foot of the cliffs, remain a defining characteristic of this remote land. From a distance, Monemvasia appears to be just a huge, barren, and dry, rocky island lying alone off the coast of the Mediterranean Sea. You won't find any trace of life if you look from the mainland. But after crossing a narrow strip of land and turning behind a cliff, a bustling medieval town will suddenly appear before your eyes. People call this place the Hidden City. The village was built in the 6th century to help its inhabitants hide from enemy invasions. The name Monemvasia means the only entrance. All the ancient stone houses here are nestled beneath a sheer cliff hundreds of meters high. Here lies a rich network of narrow, cobblestone alleys so tight that no motor vehicle can fit through. For centuries, the only means of transporting necessities here has been patient donkeys. The lives of the inhabitants are enclosed by sturdy stone walls facing the vast ocean. The roaring waves crashing against the cliffs and the wind whistling through the cracks in the ancient walls are familiar sounds every day. Living in Monemvasia is like traveling back in time to 1,000 years ago. To a time when humans chose to hide among the rocks to survive. If you think every village in the world has to be connected by paved roads, Giethoorn will completely change that perception. This place is known as the Venice of Northern Europe, but it possesses a much more pristine and tranquil beauty. What makes Giethoorn so unique is that the village has absolutely no roads for vehicles. All the quaint thatched roof houses here are situated on separate small islands surrounded by a complex network of canals. The inconvenience starts to appear when you want to transport bulky items like a refrigerator or a bed. No trucks, no motorbikers. People have to use small, quiet, even when a fire breaks out. Firefighters have to use specialized boats to access the scene. Connecting the houses are more than 170 small, steep wooden bridges, barely wide enough for pedestrians. The silence of Giethoorn can sometimes be frightening. The loudest sounds you might hear are the gentle splashing of the oars and the quacking of flocks of wild ducks. Longyearbyen is the town closest to the North Pole on the planet, where the sun disappears completely for 4 months during the winter. In this icy land, there is a strange law that sounds like a joke but is strictly enforced. Death is forbidden. The town cemetery stopped accepting bodies more than 70 years ago. The horrifying secret behind this law lies in the permafrost layer. Extremely low temperatures prevent the decomposition of corpses, creating a terrifying threat as viruses from pandemics of the last century remain intact in frozen cells underground. Elderly or terminally ill people are required to travel by plane back to mainland Norway to spend their final days there. The danger in Longyearbyen also comes from polar bears, which outnumber the town's inhabitants. Life here is a series of days facing -40 degrees Celsius. The lurking threat of wild animals, and the prolonged solitude of eternal darkness. Nestled amidst the vast, snow-capped desert in eastern Greenland, Ittoqqortoormiit is considered one of the most remote and isolated settlements on the world map. For 9 months of the year, the sea surrounding the village is completely frozen, making it impossible for boats to enter or leave. The only way to access this place is by the infrequent helicopter flights from Iceland, which are often cancelled due to extreme weather. The most puzzling question is how humans have been able to sustain life in a place completely cut off from the civilized world for so long. To survive, the indigenous Inuit people rely on hunting whales, seals, and polar bears, subject to strict government quotas. Without supermarkets and a source of fresh vegetables, their food mainly consists of frozen meat stored from previous seasons. The biggest challenge at Ittoqqortoormiit is not just the bone-chilling cold, but the mental health of its residents who have to live in extreme darkness for months on end. These brightly painted wooden houses, in shades of blue, red, purple, and yellow, are a desperate attempt by people to combat depression in the face of a vast, white landscape of ice and snow. In contrast to the icy world, Wadi Rum camp takes people to another harsh frontier of nature, the vibrant red sand desert of Jordan. The terrain here is so wild and majestic that Hollywood filmmakers often choose it as a setting to simulate the surface of Mars in science fiction films. Here, bubble-shaped glass tents are erected in isolation amidst towering sandstone mountain ranges. How can humans maintain a comfortable life in this arid desert? Daytime temperatures here reach 45 degrees Celsius, but at night they drop to freezing point. Life is sustained by a dense network of solar panels. Drinking water has to be transported by tanker trucks from islands located dozens of kilometers away. Wadi Rum's isolation is a thrilling and unique experience. When night falls, the space is completely silent and free from light pollution. Humans become insignificant amidst a desert teeming with venomous scorpions and raging storms ready to devour any trace. Located in isolation at an altitude of nearly 800 meters atop a rocky mountain is the ancient Monsanto Castle. This structure was built by the Knights Templar in the 12th century to serve as a military base. The strange thing is that the entire castle is nestled in the middle of a huge granite rock formation. Rocks weighing hundreds of tons lay scattered and piled on top of each other everywhere. In the State, a massive lightning strike hit the gunpowder storage and blew up much of the fortress structure. The explosion blew away many buildings, turning the area into a massive pile of rubble. Instead of leaving, the people of this region chose to stay and rebuild their lives right on the ruins. They carved directly into large granite blocks to create bedrooms, utilizing the natural rock face as walls and transforming flat slabs of stone into roofing materials. All tasks related to transporting food or building materials for daily life had to be done manually by hand. Right next to the entrance to the fortress is an ancient cemetery, where tombs were carved directly into the surface of monolithic stone slabs by the ancients. The combination of war ruins and bizarre stone houses has transformed Monsanto Castle into a unique living space. Shatili is an ancient, fortified village made of stone. situated in isolation near the Chechen border. This place is completely isolated from the outside world for 6 months during the winter due to heavy snowfall. The only road leading into the village is a rough, rocky path that runs along the edge of a deep ravine in the Caucasus Mountains. Even a light rain would cause landslides from the mountain top, blocking all access routes. The key lies in the village's structural design, which was crucial for its survival. All the stone houses in Shatili are built close together and tightly connected, forming a continuous wall. Villagers can move from one house to another through a system of hidden windows and terraces without having to step out onto the street. This design allowed them to stay warm while also defending themselves against the head-hunting tribes of the past. When winter arrived, the few dozen people who remained had to fend for themselves amidst the swirling snow. Transportation of essential supplies was completely ineffective at this time, and they had to rely on their stockpiled food. Occasionally, the enormous packs of Caucasian sheepdogs bark loudly in the night, creating an atmosphere of utter wildness and solitude. Nestled deep in the Zanskar Valley of India's Ladakh region, the village of Phugtal appears like a giant beehive clinging to the cliff face. There are absolutely no paved roads or pathways for motor vehicles here. The only way to reach this village is by hiking for 2 full days along treacherous trails that cling to the banks of the turbulent river. This is the only passage connecting the locals to the trail leading to the outside world. In winter, when temperatures drop to -30 degrees Celsius, the river freezes completely and the bridge becomes as slippery as a death trap. One wrong step and you'll plunge straight into the icy water below with no chance of survival. The village was built around a natural cave that had been a retreat for monks for over 2,000 years. The main source of drinking water for the entire village is drawn directly from an underground spring flowing from within this cave. All essential goods and medicines had to rely on the carrying capacity of patient donkeys. Located at an altitude of nearly 4,000 meters above sea level on Lake Titicaca lies a truly unique village made entirely of reeds. The Uros people have hand-woven the dry reeds readily available in the lake to create artificial islands floating on the water's surface. Even their houses and boats are woven from this plant. But how can a grassy island withstand the weight of dozens of families without rotting and sinking? The secret lies in the fact that the bottom of the island is constantly decomposing due to prolonged submersion in water. Therefore, every 3 months the locals are forced to add a new layer of reeds to the surface to maintain the island's thickness. If they were lazy or didn't have enough reeds, the entire village would disintegrate and sink completely to the bottom of the deep lake. The Uros people's lives are closely tied to fishing and hunting waterfowl. The cormorants were domesticated by the locals to help them catch fish in the deep lake. Living on these reed islands is a unique experience, where every step feels like a bouncy bounce, as if you're walking on a giant spring mattress. Huacachina is a small natural oasis nestled among the vast sand dunes of the Ica Desert in southern Peru. At the heart of this place is an emerald green lake surrounded by lush green palm trees. This is considered one of the most bizarre landscapes on the planet, where thriving life emerges right in the middle of a barren land that receives no rain year-round. However, the very existence of this oasis is facing a series of imminent threats to its survival. Water levels in natural lakes are declining dramatically each year due to climate change and groundwater extraction in surrounding areas. Life in Huacachina is closely tied to adventurous sand-based tourism activities. The most common mode of transportation here is the high-clearance buggy, speeding along the steep sand dunes. Occasionally, desert eagles soar across the sky, creating a wild and untamed scene. Rocamadour is an ancient town perched precariously on the limestone cliffs of a deep gorge in southern France. The houses and churches here are built stacked on top of each other like steps, clinging tightly to the steep, rocky surface. Seen from a distance, the entire town resembles a giant sculpture suspended in mid-air. The most suffocating moment for the viewer lies in the steep pilgrimage route leading to the top of the town. to access the sacred sanctuaries. People in the past had to climb 21 narrow stone steps. Many devout pilgrims in the past even knelt and crawled on their hands and knees on these slippery stone steps to show their reverence. The rugged terrain made transporting building materials and food to the upper floors an extremely difficult manual task. The interior of Rocamadour is a network of narrow, cobblestone alleyways so tight that no motor vehicle can fit through. The only means of transportation for the residents here is their own 2 feet. Perched on these treacherous cliffs for thousands of years, the people here have transformed a seemingly uninhabitable landscape into a solid cultural fortress. Known as the Dying Town, Civita di Bagnoregio sits isolated atop a heavily eroded plateau of boulders. This village is surrounded by deep ravines and sheer white clay cliffs. The surrounding terrain is constantly eroding and collapsing due to the effects of wind and rain, causing the village's area to shrink year after year. The film's appeal lies in the village's unique and incredibly fragile setting. The entire dirt road connecting to the mainland had completely collapsed a long time ago. The only way to enter the village is by crossing a long, narrow concrete pedestrian bridge that spans the gap in the ravine. On days when the valley below is shrouded in fog, the bridge and the village appear to float among 9 layers of clouds, cutting off all connection with reality. Here, all motorized vehicles are strictly prohibited on the bridge. So essential supplies must be transported in using handcarts or donkeys. Castelmezzano della Rocca emerges like a giant stone blade jutting straight out into the valley. The entire town sits atop a narrow, steep strip of basalt rock, over 50 meters high and nearly a kilometer long. This sheer cliff was formed by the collision of 2 ancient volcanic lava flows thousands of years ago. The cramped space that suffocates viewers lies in the unique traffic structure of this place. The entire town has only one road running along a narrow strip of rocky terrain. The houses here are built from volcanic rock itself, nestled close together and clinging tightly to the edge of the steep cliff. Many houses have balconies that jut out directly onto the vast, abyssal cliff. Even a minor earthquake or natural erosion at the base of the cliffs would risk these structures collapsing straight into the Fluvia River below. because the width of the rocky strip is sometimes only enough to build 2 rows of houses. Residents have to accept a life without yards or spare space. All residents' means of transportation are crammed onto a single road, creating a suffocating pressure for survival. Perched on the edge of a rocky cliff for centuries, the people here have transformed a dangerous volcanic landscape into one of the world's most unique living spaces. Vernazza is one of 5 ancient villages in the Cinque region, clinging to a sheer cliff overlooking the Ligurian Sea. The entire town appears as a vibrant labyrinth of colors, with multi-story houses stacked on top of each other along a narrow gorge. This place has absolutely no roads for cars to access the center, turning it into an isolated fortress nestled between towering mountains on one side and the ocean on the other. The terrifying twist that keeps viewers hooked lies in the life or death lesson from nature that this town once had to endure. In October of 2011, a record-breaking storm triggered a devastating mudslide and landslide that cascaded straight down from the mountain top. The entire town was submerged under a layer of mud and rocks up to 4 meters thick, destroying all the shops and burying the lower floors of the houses. The residents faced the risk of complete annihilation when the town was cut off from all access, both by land and water, for days on end. The main routes of movement today are still narrow. Steep stone walkways and numerous winding steps around the walls of the houses. The lives of the people here are a testament to preserving a 1,000-year-old heritage against the sudden fury of geological forces. Parrot is a small Ifugao village nestled in the middle of a steep valley in the Cordillera Mountains. This place is completely isolated from the modern transportation network, and there are no paved roads leading directly to it. The only way to reach the village is to hike for hours along slippery, rocky trails that wind along the edge of a deep ravine. The entire village is surrounded by a massive system of stone terraces, stacked like an ancient amphitheater. For 2,000 years, the Ifugao people have been manually carrying millions of stones from the riverbed up the high cliffs to build the vertical walls that hold their land together. The immense water pressure flowing down from the mountaintop is always a ticking time bomb. Just a small crack caused by miscalculation of the water flow could cause the entire stone wall system to collapse, creating a landslide that would bury the stilt houses at the bottom of the basin. The only passageway between the houses was a narrow, stone-paved edge of the rice paddies, less than 30 centimeters wide, right next to a gap tens of meters deep with no protective railings. All necessities, building materials, and even patients in need of emergency care had to be transported entirely by human strength. Clinging to the rocky basin for thousands of years, the people of Bata have transformed a deadly terrain into a unique survival fortress. Lamayuru is located at an altitude of over 500 meters in the Himalayas, in the Ladakh region. This village is isolated amidst an extremely bizarre landscape of eroded, yellowish-gray clay mountains, forming undulating ridges that look exactly like the surface of the moon. The only road leading into the village is a series of steep hairpin bends carved directly into the loose rock face. The most terrifying danger here is the sudden landslides and rock falls that occur in the summer when the ice on the mountain top melts. Even a small rock falling is enough to collapse the trail or hurl vehicles into the deep ravine below. In winter, heavy snowfall completely cuts off Lamayuru's access to the outside world for months at a time. All the mud houses and ancient monasteries here cling tightly to the crumbling rock face. All essential supplies must be stockpiled months in advance. The villagers are facing severe oxygen shortages and a scarcity of drinking water due to the river below freezing over. Nestled in isolation on the steep hillsides of the remote island of Sumba, the ancient villages of the Marapu people are completely cut off from the rhythm of modern life. The entrance to the village is via narrow, slippery dirt paths bordered by thorny thickets. The most terrifying thing here is the wooden stilt houses with roofs made of bamboo and thatch, towering up to 10 meters high like axe blades pointing straight up to the sky. This design is believed to be a dwelling place for ancestral spirits, but it is also an extremely dangerous fire hazard. Just a small spark from the wood-burning stove below would instantly ignite the dry thatched roof, burning down the entire village in minutes before the villagers could escape to the only road leading to it. Right in the middle of the village square are massive stone tombs weighing tons, where previous generations are buried. Due to its location on a high hilltop with scarce water resources, the people have to walk for kilometers down into deep valleys to carry cans of water for daily use back up the slope. The lives of the residents of Sumba are a series of mysterious, clinging days. Here, hardship in order to protect the sacred space of their tribe. Living precariously on cliffs or isolated amidst a hellish fog. The people in these lands have proven that the limits of our survival are limitless. For them, hardship is not a challenge but a normal part of everyday life. If given the choice, would you dare to give up comfort for a chance to survive in these breathtaking locations? If this journey makes you want to continue exploring seemingly unreal places on Earth, please subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on future trips.